Well, I'm here with Ariel, and we're going to talk about his passion about horses and how it got started and why he decided to go barefoot with his horses or with my shoes. But first, I want to talk to you and tell me more about you and your horse.
Well, thank you for having me, Monique. So this is Elliot, is a 14-year-old gelding who is starting to jump the meter 40s in the National Grand Prix. And a year ago, Elliot was stopping at a meter and had almost 5-degree wedge pads in the hind because he has a negative palmar angle. And so even before that, I started my barefoot journey when I went to Villamora to jump the 3-star in 2019. 2019, I met a French rider who has all his horses barefoot. You know, they never tell you when you grow up with horses or you go to the riding school, whatever, it's shoes. You know, there's always shoes, shoes, and they don't tell you why they're shoes. And so I asked him why. And I had a friend with me there who is they call them the natural horse foot people. They only, you know, deal with trimming. And so I asked them, and they explained to me that basically, when you do a push-up, is it easier to do a push-up with your hands flat or with your fingertips? I said it's easier flat.
Right.
And so it's a little bit the same thing, the shoes and how the foot functions, and it just makes so much sense.
Right.
And I think that as riders and as we strive to try and perform and do great, we want to try and make the horses feel the best they can and give them all the chances they can to be good.
Right. Well, it's always better for a horse to have a natural foot because metal doesn't match the mechanical property of the horns.
Well, you can't be nature.
Yeah.
Right?
It's millions of years of evolution. I mean, some horses, you know, like yours, need shoes in the hind, but he has composite shoes, and that's already kind of closer to the natural foot than being completely barefoot. Some horses do not have the structure, but most of them, if you start them young enough and you don't do something too stupid with them when they're young, and you have good training and good footing, I think they're fine. You know?
Yeah, and nutrition I've learned also is a big key. I've transitioned a lot of horses barefoot, and some of them have a hard time. And actually, I have an 8-year-old gelding who's a phenomenal horse who has a hard time, and that's how I came to find you.
Right.
He recommended your shoe, and then I looked up all your videos, and you're the only person that has so much scientific backing on your product. There's other competitors, but nobody, you know, it's just a composite shoe and that's it. And then I was lucky that you live 3 hours from home.
Yeah, well, I think that's what I was saying. I'm a stickler for the trimming because, you know, anyone can put a composite shoe on. I mean, it doesn't matter, and then fit the hoof to whatever the composite shoe on is. But it's the trimming and understanding why you trim a horse and what they need, because I ride, so, you know, I have specific needs also depending on what you do with a horse, you know. And some horses can be barefoot and some are not. But also, you know, it's very different because when I grew up, I'm much older than you. I won't say that. I had multiple facelifts. But you know, the footing was not as nice as what we have right now. That makes also a huge difference because the arena are really quality, you know, when you go to horse shows. When I grew up, you know, they were not as well kept as what we have right now. So I think we're going in, and also I think people's attitude towards horses has changed a lot. I think people want to keep horses as friends. You know, it's not like a commodity. I mean,
well, I think everybody that does this sport has the idea that we want to be friends with them because that's why we do it. It's a hard sport. It's an ungrateful sport, and what makes it all worth, no matter a bad round or good round, is.
Well, and I think people don't.
Is the relationship with them.
When you jump, it's dangerous. You know, when you go high speed of a large jump, it's, you know, if you don't have a rapport with your horse, you're going to get hurt one day. You know. But I was talking to you. So, how did you get started with riding? What was the passion? What happened?
So my mom rode as a kid, and then had kids and kind of stopped. And my sister found out that she rode, and I was 10 years old. And my dad's in the automotive industry, so I've always been driving like motorcycles, karts, and I've wanted to do F1 actually. That was because my dad watches every Grand Prix and everything. but didn't really spend the time. And then we went as a family outing to the riding club in France, and they put me on a Shetland. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I want to do it too. 10.
10, okay.
And I was like, oh, this is cool. I want to ride too. So she bought like a pack of 10 lessons. And she, at the time, I fit in her cowboy boots. So I had a pair of red Lucchese cowboy boots. And off I went to start riding.
Okay.
And then I was lucky enough that I lived in Bordeaux. And it's the oldest World Cup stop in the world. And I saw the competition and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah, I was hooked.
So when did you start competing as a trainer? I mean, at what age did you start really training horses yourself?
I think my whole life a little bit. We always strive for, I mean, in my mentality, I'm always the person that wants the best. You know, like I want to work with the best trainer, I want the best shoes, I want the best saddle, I want the, like, and I try to understand what is the best. And then from there, trying to find the right people, and I came across, my mom came across Jean Dorgex, who, for a lot of people don't know, but he invented the Final Four when that was a thing in the World Equestrian Games, and was French chef d'équipe and won multiple Grand Prix at the beginning of time.
Right. So what you were competing first in France, and then you moved here?
Yes, I started in France, and then when I was like 13, we moved back to California. Okay. And then I rode a little bit in the American system for a couple of years.
So, and what's your goal with my nice little friend here? Yeah.
The goal is to keep him happy, and he tells us a little bit what he wants to do. Like I said, a year ago, we went to Thermal for the first show we've done together, and he stopped 7 times in the meter 20 warm-up. And fixing the feet, fixing the diet, fixing so many parts of it has made it that he's putting clear-ons in the meter 40 now. We're almost done with the rehab of the back, and I think that once we're done, we'll keep trying, and if he does, he does, and if he doesn't, then that's no big deal.
So what is your program for rehabbing horses? I mean, because if you pull them out of being metal shod and the diet and everything, how do you start that?
Patience.
Patience. Yeah.
I mean, there's no
formula.
There's no formula. Like the moment you take them off, you see some of them come off out of it and they're fine. Some of them take more time. If they really can't be, then we go to the Epona.
Right.
If there's, like, this horse has huge, ankle problems that he needed the assistance of a shoe to be able to function. Some horses are a little bit more blessed, or weren't so ruined by man-made mistakes.
Right. Because it's not just the foot; it's also the training. Because the rehab often, bad riding affects also the shape of the foot, whether you put metal or keep them.
And there's a lot of horses that I think have problems because they're man-made and not because they have a bad natural conformation.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Because I have 10 horses and I can tell you that's exactly what happened. I don't have time. I'm not supposed to jump horses because my husband will divorce me. So that's okay. But you care to add something? I think that's very nice. Or
I think that at the end, the most important thing is that it's to research and to not just blindly follow whatever people say.
Right.
It's not because, and I think we're lucky because we're in an era of a lot of change when it comes to that. Right. We have the Swedish to thank and some of the French riders that have shown that they win,
Right.
and they win because the horses feel better.
Right.
And so that's undeniable at the end.
Right.
And I think the journey, barefoot is definitely management, and it's a journey, and it takes time and patience, but the end result is worth everything.
It's also being reasonable because, as you say, some horses need help and some can't.
That's why we have Epona.
Yeah, but I think, some people are too also militant, it's either this or it's that, or they can't just compromise a little bit. And I think people also need to look at what we breed, because I think a lot of horses should be bred a little bit better, and food care on young horses is really important.
It's super important. I break horses. I don't do it very often, but I do for friends and people that ask me. And I remember there was this one lady who asked me to break some horses for some clients, and so I gave them my price, and they said it was too expensive, and that what I charged was for a maid horse. But my answer to them was that actually I should be charging more for a younger horse and less for a maid horse,
Right,
because
right,
there's
right.
more work, more time that goes into
Right.
working with the young horse versus a maid horse that already knows, you
Right,
know,
right.
his job or this or that.
Well, I think that's where all the problems start. And I just polled a few farrier professional and barefooters and about the care of mare, you know, brood mares. And, you know, foot care is not good. And I think it starts with that. And foals should be taken care of very, very seriously. You know, you should trim them often. I mean, not every week or something, but at least 4 or 5 weeks. You know,
Right, I mean, it's like a baby, a human
Yeah.
baby, right? Like, we're all into, they need this, they need that.
Yeah.
Like, the same thing for a horse.
Yeah, and
it's
the
the foundation.
mares needs a lot of help because, you know, they're pregnant and a lot of time they don't, as far as food care and otherwise. So I think that's where it starts, because the better we breed horses and we start them correctly and we feed them correctly, the less the problem is.
Well, and I see it, for example, my family-in-law, they breed horses, and this is one of them, and every horse here is homebred, and we have a really nice 3-year-old stallion that we broke and took to his first show to just be around and figure it out, and you see, from having never really bred my own because I don't have, you know, the way we started, you realize certain things and certain behaviors that you find in older horses, and it all comes down to being able to give them the right education from the get-go.
Right. And I think, because all the horses, I don't have time to show, but they're competition horses, and they come with such an history, and it takes so long to change them. And it shouldn't have not happened, because a lot of them didn't have problem. They shouldn't have the feet they had. They shouldn't have the mental problem they had. If people would have taken a little bit more time, you know, that's the saying.
I think at the end, the patience, and I think
Yeah.
that also in today's age and time, you know, you look at every other sport, we're always in the cutting edge of technology. Formula One, even racing, this, you have people without limbs that have carbon legs and run marathons faster than, you know. Why are we still putting metal shoes on horses' feet?
You know, I don't understand. I stopped putting metal shoes already like 25 years ago, and I probably, you know, started something, you know, because it doesn't make any sense, you know.
No, it doesn't, and I think that
just make no sense, and it creates all sorts of problems. But it's hard to change.
And just just from the properties of metal, like you take a hammer and hit a metal bar, I guarantee you, it doesn't feel fun.
No,
it vibrates through the whole body.
And again, there are horses that need help. That's why there are alternative shoes or boots or whatever, and you can.
There's slipper boots, and then for the ones that need, then we have Eponas. You know, I have horses that are completely barefoot. I have horses that have Eponas just on the front. I have some with all fours. You know, so it's a great tool, and I think.
Thank you.
I think that
I think we're done.
the great thing about having a horse barefoot and working with composite shoes, that you have the option to do whatever you want.
And you can remove them for a month.